Welcome to my channel. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much.
She said, "Try not to embarrass me. These people are way above your level." I didn't reply. But when the host came over, shook my hand and said, "Finally, we've been waiting to meet you." Her face went pale instantly. "I'm Marcus, 34, and until 2 months ago, I thought my girlfriend Vanessa respected me. Turns out she'd been embarrassed by me for a while, and I only found out when she decided to say it out loud in the car on our way to what she thought was just another networking event. What she didn't know was that I'd been personally invited by the host, and that changed everything. Vanessa and I had been together for 18 months. She worked in corporate communications for a tech startup, constantly networking, always climbing. I respected her ambition. She came from money, not crazy rich, but comfortable country club memberships, private school education, parents who summered in the Hamptons. I grew up middle class in the Midwest, worked my way through state school, built my career from the ground up. My work is specialized. I consult for companies on sustainable development and environmental impact reduction. It's niche, it's not flashy, and most people's eyes glaze over when I explain it. But I'm good at what I do, and I've built a solid reputation in my field over the past decade. Vanessa knew what I did, but she never really asked about the details. She'd introduce me at her events as Marcus, he does environmental stuff, and move on quickly. The incident happened on a Saturday evening in early September. Vanessa had been invited to a dinner party at the home of Richard and Patricia Carrington. The Carringtons were a big deal in her world. Richard was a venture capitalist, Patricia sat on multiple nonprofit boards, and they hosted exclusive gatherings at their estate in the suburbs. Vanessa had been angling for an invitation for months, networking her way up the chain until she finally got it. She was nervous all week, bought a new dress, got her hair done, kept asking me what I was planning to wear. I told her I'd figure it out, which apparently wasn't the answer she wanted. The day of the event, I put on a nice suit. Nothing crazy expensive, but well-fitted and appropriate. When I came out of the bedroom, Vanessa looked me up and down with this expression I'd never seen before, disappointment mixed with resignation. "That's what you're wearing?" she asked. "Yeah. Is there a problem?" She sighed. "No, it's fine, it's just—" Never mind. We got in the car. She was driving because she knew the way. About 10 minutes into the 40-minute drive, she turned down the music and said, "Marcus, I need you to do me a favor tonight." "Sure. What's up?" "Just try not to embarrass me, okay? These people are way above your level. They're not going to be interested in hearing about soil conservation or whatever it is you do. Just smile, be polite, and let me handle the conversations." I sat there in the passenger seat, stunned. Above my level? I'd been to dozens of these kinds of events with her. I'd always been perfectly polite, held my own in conversations, never made a scene. And now she was telling me I wasn't good enough for her networking friends? "Above my level?" I said carefully. "You know what I mean. These are serious people with serious money and connections. I just don't want you to—" She trailed off. "Don't want me to what?" "Don't want you to talk too much about your work or your background. It doesn't fit with this crowd." I didn't respond, just stared out the window for the rest of the drive, while Vanessa filled the silence with nervous chatter about who would be there and what connections she hoped to make. I was processing the fact that my girlfriend was ashamed of me. Here's what Vanessa didn't know. Richard Carrington had personally reached out to me 3 weeks earlier. His company was looking to pivot toward sustainable investing, and someone on his team had recommended me as a consultant. We'd had 2 phone calls and a video meeting. He'd invited me to this dinner specifically to discuss a potential partnership and to introduce me to some of his colleagues in a more casual setting. I'd mentioned to him that my girlfriend had also been invited, and he'd seemed pleased about that, said it would be nice to meet her. I hadn't told Vanessa about any of this because the project was still in early discussions, and I didn't want to jinx it. Also, honestly, I liked keeping my professional life separate. She'd never shown much interest in the details of my work anyway. We pulled up to the Carrington estate around 6:45 p.m. It was impressive. Massive house, manicured grounds, valet parking. Vanessa checked her makeup in the car mirror one more time, then looked at me. Remember what I said. Just follow my lead. We walked up to the front door. A server greeted us and led us through to the back terrace where about 30 people were mingling with drinks. I scanned the crowd and spotted Richard almost immediately. He was talking to a small group near the bar. He caught my eye and his face lit up. He excused himself from his conversation and walked straight over to us. Vanessa straightened up, put on her networking smile, and extended her hand. Mr. Carrington, thank you so much for... Richard walked past her extended hand and grabbed mine, shaking it enthusiastically. Marcus, finally. We've been waiting to meet you in person. Patricia's been excited all week. She read your proposal and had about a dozen questions. I watched Vanessa's face go completely pale. Her hand was still awkwardly extended in the air before she slowly lowered it. It's great to finally meet you too, Richard, I said. Thanks for the invitation. Are you kidding? Having you here is the whole point of tonight. Well, one of the points anyway. He finally seemed to notice Vanessa. And you must be Vanessa. Marcus mentioned you'd been invited. Wonderful to meet you. Vanessa shook his hand, but I could see her brain short-circuiting. You two know each other? Oh, we've been in talks for a few weeks now, Richard said. Didn't Marcus tell you? We're potentially bringing him on as the lead consultant for our new sustainable investment initiative. His reputation in the field is stellar. We're lucky he's even considering working with us. I watched Vanessa's networking smile freeze on her face. He didn't mention that. Well, he's modest, which is refreshing in this industry, Richard said, clapping me on the shoulder. Come on, let me introduce you to Patricia and some of the others. Vanessa, feel free to grab a drink and mingle. The food should be out shortly. He steered me away toward a group on the other side of the terrace. I glanced back once to see Vanessa standing there, still frozen, holding her purse with white knuckles. Update 1. The dinner party was surreal. Richard introduced me to at least 15 people, all of whom knew who I was or had heard about the project. Patricia Carrington cornered me for 20 minutes, asking detailed questions about carbon offset strategies and ESG compliance. A woman named Jennifer, who ran a major investment fund, asked if I was taking on new clients. Vanessa spent most of the evening trying to stay close to me, laughing a bit too loudly at things I said, touching my arm possessively whenever another woman talked to me. The transformation was obvious and uncomfortable. 2 hours earlier, she'd told me I was beneath these people. Now she was clinging to me like I was her ticket to the inner circle. During dinner, a formal sit-down affair with assigned seating, I ended up between Patricia and a guy named David, who owned a green energy company. Vanessa was seated 4 spots down, next to someone's husband who apparently worked in insurance. I could see her straining to hear my conversations, trying to catch pieces of what I was discussing. After dessert, Richard stood up and clinked his glass. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. As some of you know, Patricia and I are making some exciting changes to how we approach our investments, focusing more on sustainability and long-term environmental impact. We've been fortunate enough to connect with Marcus Reeves, who many of you have had a chance to talk with tonight. Marcus is going to be helping us navigate this transition, and we're hoping some of you might be interested in similar initiatives. But enough business talk. Let's enjoy the evening. People clapped politely. Several looked at me with new interest. Vanessa looked like she might be sick. The party wrapped up around 10:30 p.m. As we were leaving, Richard pulled me aside. Marcus, let's set up a meeting for next week to finalize the contract details. I think this is going to be a great partnership. Sounds good. I'll have my assistant send over sometimes. Perfect. And bring Vanessa by for dinner sometime, just the 4 of us. Patricia really enjoyed talking with her. I glanced over at Vanessa, who was standing by the door, looking small and anxious. Sure, that sounds nice. The drive home was silent for the first 15 minutes. Finally, Vanessa spoke. Why didn't you tell me you knew Richard Carrington? You never asked about my work, I said simply. That's not fair. You specifically didn't tell me about this. I didn't tell you because it was still being discussed and I don't like to talk about projects until they're finalized. Also, frankly, you've never seemed interested in the details of what I do. She was quiet for another minute. Then, I'm sorry about what I said in the car earlier. I was nervous, and it came out wrong. It came out exactly how you meant it. You were embarrassed by me. You thought I wasn't good enough for your networking friends. That's not... I didn't mean it like that. Vanessa, you told me I was beneath these people. You told me not to embarrass you. Those aren't things you say to someone you respect. She started crying, which I expected. I was just stressed. You know how important these connections are for my career. And you assumed my career was less important, less impressive, that I was just some guy who talks about dirt, who you had to drag along to fancy parties. I don't think that... Yeah, you do. You've always thought that. Every time you introduce me as Marcus, he does environmental stuff and change the subject. Every time you've cut me off when I'm talking about my work because you think it's boring, every time you've picked what I wear because you don't trust me to dress appropriately, you've been managing me like I'm a liability. She cried harder. I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't realize how it was coming across. The problem isn't how it came across. The problem is, that's actually how you feel. We drove the rest of the way in silence. Update 2. I didn't break up with Vanessa that night, but something fundamental had broken. Over the next week, she tried to fix things, suddenly interested in my work, asking questions about the Carrington project, wanting to know about my other clients. It felt performative, like she was trying to prove she cared now that she knew my work was impressive by her standards. The weirdest part was how her friends started treating me. Vanessa had obviously told them something, because suddenly I was getting LinkedIn requests from people in her network. At a happy hour we went to with her coworkers. People who'd barely acknowledged me before were asking about my consulting work and whether I was taking on new projects. Vanessa started introducing me differently. Instead of, Marcus, he does environmental stuff, it became, Marcus, he's an environmental sustainability consultant working with some major firms. She'd mentioned the Carrington project casually in conversations, positioning herself adjacent to my success. 2 weeks after the dinner party, we had our first real fight about it. We were at her apartment making dinner when she said something about us attending an upcoming conference where Richard would be speaking. I wasn't planning to go to that conference, I said, but Richard will be there. It's a good networking opportunity. For you or for me? She paused, knife in hand over a cutting board. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're using my connection to Richard to boost your own career. Which is fine, I guess. But let's be honest about what this is. That's not what I'm doing. Vanessa, you've spent 2 weeks trying to insert yourself into my professional life. You want to meet my other clients, come to my meetings, attend events you never cared about before, and it's all because you realized my work is more impressive than you thought. I'm trying to be supportive. You're trying to network. There's a difference. She slammed the knife down. Why are you being like this? I apologized for what I said. I'm trying to show interest in your work. What more do you want? I want you to be interested because you care about me, not because you think I can help your career. I want you to respect me whether I'm working with billionaires or teaching community classes about composting. But you don't. You only respect what I can do for you. That's not true. It is true. You were embarrassed by me until you found out I was useful. That's not respect. That's opportunism. She started crying again, but this time I didn't feel bad about it. Update 3. I broke up with Vanessa 3 weeks after the dinner party. It was an inevitable conversation we both saw coming. She tried to convince me we could work through it, that she'd learned her lesson, that she really did respect me now. But it didn't matter. I couldn't unring the bell. I couldn't forget how she'd looked at me in the car, how she'd told me I was beneath her colleagues, how her respect was conditional on my usefulness. The breakup was messy. She was angry and hurt, told me I was being unforgiving and holding a grudge. Maybe she was right. But I didn't want to be with someone who had to learn to respect me, who only valued me after discovering I had impressive connections. I ran into Richard about a month after the breakup at a lunch meeting downtown. He asked how Vanessa was doing, and I told him we'd split up. "Ah, I'm sorry to hear that," he said. "Though between you and me, Patricia didn't think she was right for you." "Why's that?" "She said Vanessa seemed more interested in who you knew than who you were. Patricia's pretty good at reading people." I thought about that a lot over the following weeks. Final update. It's been 4 months since the dinner party. The Carrington project is going well. We've expanded it beyond the initial scope, and I've brought on 2 other consultants to help. Richards introduced me to several other potential clients, and my business has grown significantly. I hired an assistant and moved into a nicer office space. I saw Vanessa once, about 6 weeks ago, at a professional event. She was with some guy in a suit, probably another networking opportunity. She saw me across the room and her face went through several emotions: surprise, embarrassment, something like longing. I gave her a polite nod and turned back to my conversation. Later that night, she texted me, "It was good to see you. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I really did learn from what happened between us. I'm sorry I didn't appreciate you when I had the chance." I didn't respond. There wasn't anything to say. I've been dating someone new for the past month. Her name is Claire. She's a middle school science teacher, and she thinks what I do is cool because she loves teaching her students about environmental issues. She asks questions because she's genuinely curious, not because she's trying to leverage my connections. She introduced me to her friends as Marcus, he's amazing, not as Marcus, he works with important people. The difference is everything I think about that car ride sometimes. Vanessa telling me I was beneath her colleagues, warning me not to embarrass her. At the time, it crushed me. Now I see it as one of those clarifying moments where someone's true feelings slip out, and you can't pretend you didn't hear them. Richard asked me recently if I'd learned anything from the whole experience. I told him I learned that you can't build a relationship with someone who doesn't respect you when you're not useful. He nodded and said, "That was a lesson a lot of people never learn. I'm grateful I learned it at 34 instead of at 44 or 54, married with kids, and a decade deeper into something built on conditional respect." The Carrington dinner party will always be this weird, perfect moment in my memory, the moment my girlfriend's mask slipped and I saw exactly what she thought of me, followed immediately by the moment she realized she'd been catastrophically wrong. Sometimes karma works quickly. I don't take pleasure in Vanessa's embarrassment that night, but I also don't regret how it played out. She needed to understand that the person she thought was beneath her was actually doing just fine without her validation, and I needed to understand that I deserve someone who respects me on my worst day, not just when I'm impressing her friends.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for new content.